Roll call says we're all here. Review and accept the agenda.
Make a motion to accept the agenda.
I second it.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Seems to be like a time lag here. Roll call says we're all here. Review and accept the agenda. Yeah, and we've done that, right?
Yep. Sorry, there was a little bit of a lag. I had to start the recording. So I think that meant the computer, it taxed out the computer on this end. Should be ready to go now.
Okay. Okay, so I think we've covered everything down to the point where we've called this meeting to order and the roll call says everyone was here. So, and we made a motion in a second, I thought, to review and accept the agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yes.
Okay. Then we're moving on to review previous meeting minutes.
I just had a question on it, and I can't review it right now. On that Greg Bonning's position.
Yep.
I thought that was gonna be, you were looking at, I thought the way I read it in the minutes was gonna cost, I thought we were gonna split that cost with another county.
Yep. So I did review the minutes and the minutes reflected what I gave to you, and I have more information today under my report that I will add even additional information and clarification.
That was the question I had.
Yep. So you're correct, and I'll go through the scenarios with a little more detail in a few moments.
All right. I'll make a motion to accept last month's minutes.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to accept the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Moving on, correspondence. Correspondence.
I don't have a record of any correspondence.
Okay. Outreach, education, or program reminders and announcements from staff.
All right.
Hi, this is
Hello.
Jessica. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. I had some tech issues this morning. And I just wanted to share that the childcare boot camp, or the childcare business initiative, just concluded this last Saturday, and it went really, really well. There was at least one place one person from Waupaca County that was thinking about opening a brand new daycare. So that will be a win if that happens. And then there were a couple of others who currently run family care and they want to move to a group care facility. So that will mean they can take on more kids. So anyway, that's been a success, and I'll have some more information for you next month on that.
Okay, thank you.
Can you guys hear me?
Continuing on, we're down to outreach, education, program reminders, and announcements from staff.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, Haley.
Okay. I just wanted to mention that Christy and myself are hosting a children's garden program on Wednesday this week. And we are going to be educating at the community garden at the Theta Care location. And it's for children. And then each household will be receiving a container garden to go home with, in the intention of growing a tomato plant, oregano, and basil, and we themed it as a pizza garden. So in hopes that they make and create their own homemade pizza with those items. So I will be happy to share how that goes next month. We're really excited for the opportunity to be able to do so.
Very nice. Anybody else before we get into item 7? Looks like everybody's not saying anything, so I guess we're on to item 7, educator reports. Start back with Haley again.
All right, thank you very much. My audio is okay here? I always feel like I can't hear myself with
ma'am.
these big muffled headphones on, so. Okay, so today I want to take the opportunity to talk about some of the things that I've been working on here these last couple of months. As stated in my educator report, I've been getting back to doing more in-person educating, which I've been more than thrilled and excited about. Our job really revolves around building relationships with individuals, and it has been quite unique and challenging to do so over the course of the pandemic, as we all, I'm sure, have experienced. So I've had the opportunity to do a few lessons of direct education using curriculum that we have access to through Foodwise. I was able to do an in-person series with the second graders in New London at Lincoln Elementary, and that went absolutely fantastic. Seeing kids being back in person again was just tremendous. The teachers that I partnered with there, Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. Winkler, they're just absolutely fantastic. And I just really want to highlight that they really went above and beyond to try to get me there in person. Wore proper PPE when I was there, and I am fully vaccinated, but they just really went above and beyond, like I said, to get me there in person, and it just paid off so tremendously. The children were so receptive of the information that I had to share, and just being together was fantastic. So that was a really, really successful series. I did 5 lessons with them once per week. And then I also recently just taught my first lesson of a children's garden series where we have partnered with the Waupaca Park and Rec Department and the Master Gardeners of Waupaca. And that went off without a hitch too. That was great to be outdoors educating right by a garden. I was able to bring some food samples of things that maybe kiddos haven't tried before. For example, I brought mint and the herb mint to try, freeze-dried blueberries and raw asparagus. And they were all very receptive and interested in trying what I had, and I look forward to educating there. I have 2 more dates here this summer at the garden. And that one is at Swan Park. If you've never seen that garden, it is very beautiful. They have 4x4 plots for each child. And then there's also a senior garden there as well. But in addition to those direct education opportunities, a lot of my time right now is getting into the community for indirect education. And I also spend some time connecting with community organizations on Facebook to promote different resources that we have through Foodwise. We ourselves have our team from our 4-county project has a Facebook page. And I also have my own professional page. And so when I am out in the community for these direct education opportunities, I'm talking about other ways when I'm not there present that they can be receiving the information that we have available for them. And that's one outlet, right? So today I'm going to provide you with some examples of what that indirect education has looked like when I'm out doing that in person. So I currently partner with the Waupaca Area Food Pantry, and we have a new partner as of this year, the Wymont Food Pantry in Waupaca, and that has been since the last week in May. And they are both operating with curbside pickup right now, where they have pre-packaged food for the clients, and they wait in their cars for the food to be loaded. So during that short period of time, this is where I step in. I have provided 100 unique individuals based on the tracking that I've done with resources, recipes, and program information. And during this time, I really want to become a trusting face, building that relationship with them as someone that they can lean on, ask questions, feel comfortable around in the space where they may already feel vulnerable. Truthfully, this is one of my favorite things about my job, is this exact thing that I'm going to be talking about. Just that face-to-face or individual to individual connection. It's just a very, very special thing for me. And I hope that in doing so, I've had very great reception on what I've been able to provide. But just again, that connection between another person is just huge. So each time beforehand, I connect with the pantry and see what items they'll be distributing for that week. From there, I choose 2 items to highlight with recipes that are nutritious, affordable, and on the easier side to make, like timely. And the clients have been rather excited about these, as they may be getting sick of some items, or they maybe haven't thought of some new way to present it to their families or try it. And so the different things that I've highlighted have been very well received. And actually, I have a gentleman who comes and visits me so I'm there at each site every other Monday. And again, through Facebook, the Waupaca area pantry has been posting when I will be there. And I've had an individual come every week that I'm there, even though he's not coming for his food distribution. He just comes for my recipes and my information, which I just find so neat. And I thank him every time he comes, and we chit chat, and it's been great. So I'm glad to see that it's reaching people through that avenue, and it's also something that they look forward to. Obviously, with that gentleman who comes to see me over and over again. And so myself, I'm a foodie, so I love to find delicious sounding recipes and something that maybe I haven't even tried before, or something I have tried and I'm like, oh, you got to try this. Like, it'll be a great way. You'll broaden your horizons on ground beef or whatever it is, so I also, Amy, am I able to share my screen?
I think Chris may need to give you permission.
Oh, Chris, are you able to do that? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so also during this time, I provide them with a nice handout about the Waupaca Farmers Market. It is the most local, it's the biggest market in our area, and also with FoodWise, and I'm also on the Living the Waupaca Way Coalition, that market in particular means a lot to me, so I highlight that market a lot. And I'm gonna show my screen of just an example of something that I hand out. So this here, in addition to the recipes, you can see the screen, correct? Okay, thank you. In addition to the recipes that I'm handing out, I will take the opportunity to ask them if they've ever been to the market. I also just ask directly if they participate in SNAP, EBT, and I will talk through the process of the opportunity of the double dollar days down at the farmers market. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, the market every Saturday is offering, if SNAP participants come to the market, they swipe their card, they may receive up to $10 matched when purchasing with their EBT card. So they have access to up to $10 for free to spend at the market. This totally helps not only the client, but also the local farmers. They're receiving extra money towards their stands there. So this is the sheet that I have. It's you know, just the basic information about the farmer's market, where it's located, the months that it runs, the time. You can order online, and then again, the double dollar days down here at the bottom. So in addition to that, I also am handing out this. Where is it? Here we go. I also hand this out. Oops. And this is just a really nice infographic of the different items that individuals can purchase with their EBT card down at the market. These different things are accessible at the market. I talk and highlight about how it's locally grown, locally raised, and just the benefits of that, and talk through about maybe the perception of a farmer's market being really expensive place to shop, but coming to find out that it is actually, you know, much more affordable than what you would think. So really encourage individuals to get down to the market, check it out, even if they don't participate in SNAP. So another thing that I ask too, if I notice that they may have young children, I ask if they participate in the WIC program and highlight the farmers market checks that they can receive through the WIC program, and talk about redeeming them at the market, because this year is extremely significant. Families are receiving $35 per qualifying individual for the WIC program, as in the past it's been $30 or $35 per family. So this year, if they have the mother qualifies in addition to maybe 3 or 4 kids, I mean, you're talking $100+ to spend at the farmer's market, which is so incredibly significant. That goes incredibly long way. The checks are broken into $6 increments, and they can spend that at the market. I mean, myself going down there a couple weekends ago, I spent $20 and I went home with 3 different vegetables, and I ended up getting a bug spray, but that wouldn't have been something that they could have redeemed with their WIC checks. But just the concept of going down there, accessing that, they can in particular purchase fruits and vegetables with those checks. So just an excellent way to provide their families with that, those items. So again, highlighting that. Something else that I've handed out at the pantry and I'm partnering with the pantry on is the Waupaca pantry in particular is they are hosting a pop-up pantry this Wednesday. So I've been talking about that, highlighting that. It's going to be a barbecue theme. There's no eligibility required. On the other side of my job, I'm helping the pantry to get some things off their shelves. So during the pandemic, they were struggling to move the food off the shelf. So this was a creative way that we came up with to get some of that stuff out of the pantry to bring in, you know, new stuff. And so they're hosting a pop-up pantry, like I said, barbecue themed. And this is a flyer that I helped create and I'm distributing throughout the community. Just want to double check to see if I have covered everything. Oh, something I just want to kind of go back on, and I had reported it a couple months ago through my educator report, was the concept and the idea behind Grow a Row. So I just want to show the flyer quick. And I'm bringing this back up because we were promoting this throughout the community, and we specifically reached out to partners to see if they were accepting of receiving fresh produce from community members, such as yourselves or myself, where the concept would be that you would grow an additional plant or grow another row in your garden and then donate it to a local charitable organization, such as a food pantry or homeless shelter. So I created multiple flyers for, I think it was 5 separate organizations that were looking to receive locally grown produce from community members. And I'm anxious to see how this goes. So, things aren't really growing or harvestable yet. But when they are, I'm really, really anxious to see the amount that's coming into the pantries if this word got out. And just tracking the amount of fresh produce that's being donated to these different organizations. So that was that. And then I have a video clip that I want to share to wrap up what I'm talking about, again, about this indirect educating aspect of my job. So with the Feeding America distributions, I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. They were going on throughout the pandemic. And then also there was a distribution every month or every week here in Waupaca at the Expo Center. And we had heard that it was often the same food. People were getting sick of it. But again, it was a way to access food if you truly are hungry. It was a tremendous resource that was provided. So another educator and myself had come up with a creative way about how we could reach individuals at this distribution. So we had created recipe flyers and also an information sheet that had this video link on it that we created. So I just want to take this time to show the video that I had created for the Feeding America distribution and also to use for future use. And that will wrap up my report here. So I'm going to go ahead and share that, and I hope you enjoy. One second here. Gotta click this certain button. There we go. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Haley,
Can you guys hear it?
Yep.
Okay, great.
a nutrition educator with FoodWise. Today I will be demonstrating a recipe called Sunshine Roll-Ups. This recipe includes items that we received through the Feeding America food box. You may also get this at a local pantry or your local grocery store. This recipe is a fun way to use pre-cooked chicken. After washing my hands, I'm ready to get started. First, you'll take a medium bowl. You'll mix half a cup of celery, finely chopped. We did this ahead of time. Onion, calls for a 1/4 cup. I like a little bit more onion, so I'm gonna add a little bit more than that to give it some extra flavor. This recipe called for mayonnaise, but in the box we received some plain yogurt, and I'm gonna use that as a replacement. Calls for 1.5 tablespoons. Soy sauce. One teaspoon. Garlic powder. A 1/2 teaspoon. And pepper. And the pepper is just to taste. So I'm gonna eyeball this. That looks good. You can always add more at the end. Next, you'll add in a cup of chicken. I removed this chicken from the bone, and it was the pre-cooked rotisserie flavored chicken that we received in the box. So I'll go ahead and measure out a cup. and dump it in. And then it calls for 2/3 cup of orange segments. Now these can be canned, and if you're using canned, you'll want to drain and rinse them, or you can use fresh oranges. 2/3. And my 1/3 cup here, I'll do 2 of these. Smelling good. Gently mix that. Next, lay a tortilla on a clean cutting board or a large plate. Take a few pieces of lettuce, amount to your liking, and lay them in there. And then take a scoop of your chicken mixture, making sure you got a little bit of everything in there, and evenly lay that out in your wrap. Go ahead and roll that up. Next, cut it in half. Put it on a plate. Serve. And enjoy.
Thank you, Haley.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to share really quick that this video in particular has had 78 views since we posted it on the UW Extension YouTube channel. So just a really fun way to get that indirect education for anybody out there, really. But to be able to share this with our clients is fun. A fun way to present something in a different way than, you know, either handing out a recipe or just talking about something. So thank you all so much for your time. I look forward to more in-person programming with direct education, and then also that indirect education that I'll continue to do throughout the summer. So thank you.
Thank you, Haley. Christy, you're next. Or maybe not.
Maybe she's having the trouble I did earlier today trying to get into the meeting.
Perhaps. Shall we go on to the rest and see if she can hook up? Seems like the only thing we should do at this point. So, Chris, why don't you just go ahead and start wheeling, and we'll see what happens.
Sounds. Just an FYI, I put in the chat, not sure if others, the connection is very unstable in here. Not sure exactly what's going on. So I'll do the best I can, and I am going to try to share my screen in a moment. So hopefully that will still be able to be shared. So couple of things, a couple of updates is that on this, I've been working with the staff and preparing for on Friday is the sunset of the temporary telecommuting agreement from the University of Wisconsin. So beginning next week, Tuesday, after the observance of the 4th of July, then primarily, it's one of those things, primarily then the offices will return to be their primary work locations. However, it's one of those things that we still have our flexible work policies and guidelines because our staff are outreach educators, so they're out and about, and so really it goes back to all of their scheduling and expectations for programs and all of those things that go back to pre-pandemic, not necessarily business as usual, because we have learned some things. So for example, it just happens that there's some days, all of our educators have them at different times of the week or the month, that there is a morning or an afternoon that is just jam-packed full of meetings, Zoom meetings, because we found that, Zoom and other things work well. So there may be some flexibility where they're able to work and be more efficient, and that may not be in this physical office. It might be at another location. So a couple of things that we've learned. So those things are moving. We're moving towards that and working through all of the nuances and the questions. I know I can speak for myself, having worked in a primarily remote environment for the better part of a year. There are some changes and some, to try and get back into the swing of things. I'm actually, I don't want to say I'm proud, but I actually remembered to pack a lunch and bring a water bottle today, and so this is one of those things that is to get back into the swing of things. And I have my ID badge and the key to get into the office. I mean, so it's those little things that you just haven't had to worry about before, or in a while. So couple of things department wise, we are, the budget process is kicked off. So looking at 2020, so this year's financials are in most categories are below pace, especially when it comes to travel and mileage. Whereas there are the other fixed, leases and other fixed costs that are right on track. So things are looking good there. One of the things that after this, we are starting the 2022 budget process. So working with Heidi and her team and all of the others as the department heads putting together things. A couple things that we're looking at, and I'll talk about some staffing with the ag position here in just a moment. So looking at some things there. A couple of other pieces there's put in. I think I'll go back and this is department. It's also staff updates. Two of our staff, so Jessica Beckendorf and Christy Gabrilska, both were eligible for, applied, and received a title promotion within UW system. So congratulations to both of them. A well-deserved honor. They had to meet a number of certain criteria in order to be eligible. So congratulations to them. Also looking at reviewing to see there's a possibility that Penny Tank may be eligible for a promotion. It's a little different. She's in a little different of a academic staff category. So we're still looking to see if that's possible. So they're taking into account any budget implications that may have. The other piece is that after this year, or at about the time as we go through with the fair, we'll look through or we'll work through with Penny and see about the possibility. Our department operates one of Lancon's or maybe it's Parks old trucks that we utilized. So Greg in that position utilized in his ag position, utilized it quite a bit. Penny does utilize it for the fair. We're looking at some cost options. It may be cheaper. It may be more effective to rent Penny a vehicle for just the duration of the fair or for when she needs it, then to then have the annual operational costs of a vehicle that doesn't get used very often. And then also we would possibly sunset the repairs and the maintenance that would be needed with an older vehicle. So it would be delaying that. That's not a decision point that we've made. We're reviewing to see what makes the most sense, both from a practicality and safety standpoint within the vehicle, but then also what it makes the most sense financially. So a couple things looking at that possibility there. So one of the other things, I know the educators are aware. Last week, I took a week of vacation, so I tried to get a whole bunch of things done before I left. And one of them that so I will now cover the Division of Extension Agriculture Institute statewide staffing plan. So apologies to any of the other staff in other institutes. This is not an entire extension staffing plan. I omitted Agriculture Institute. So the information I am covering is only for the Agriculture Institute. At some point down the road, the other institutes, which would be Positive Youth Development, of which 4-H is under, Human Development and Relationships, Health and Wellbeing, and Community Development, of which we have individuals that fall under all of those. There may be staffing plans that will come in the next probably couple of years. So this is the this is the one that, because of the number of vacancies and the specialization in the agriculture industry, the Ag Institute needed to create their staffing plan a little bit sooner. All right, we're going to do this a different way. So I'm going to share my screen and just share a couple of slides. Okay, the slides that I'm sharing are were compiled. Heidi Johnson is the Institute Director. So she is the Institute Director for the Agriculture Institute. So she's the one who compiled this information and put the final touches on the staffing plan, though the staffing plan included input from a wide variety of individuals who are currently extension outreach educators in the Ag Institute throughout the state, in the variety of different areas. It also included feedback from constituent groups throughout the agricultural community. So corn and soybean producers, fruit and vegetable growers, those types of groups. So just to give you an idea of how this is, they've tried to do this very, very thoroughly, but there's also a need to act on it with the number of vacancies that we've got. So a couple of things. The Agriculture Institute has 5 programs, so content area programs, and they have 2 branded programs, one of which you might be more familiar with than the others. So the program areas, so these are all of the educators, all of our extension agriculture educators are part of a program that works on content development from a statewide perspective, but they're also a cohort and support each other and network to work to accomplish their goals. So dairy, crops and soils, livestock, farm management, and horticulture. And there is a possibility, or there's conversation about the possibility that dairy and livestock may merge back together from being a separate program with having a program manager to being together and working together. There are very distinct differences between dairy cows and beef cows, and there are some significant similarities. So they're working through a couple of those things. 2 other branded programs that there are: a Master Gardener, the Master Gardeners and the Discovery Farms. There is the Discovery Farms is actually headquartered out of northeastern Wisconsin, which isn't all that far away. And they do on-farm demonstration plots, and I'll share a little bit about how that might reach Waupaca County here in just a moment. So there have been changes in relevancy. Changes in relevancy in the overall agricultural area. One of the things, agriculture has changed a lot over 100 years, but extension staffing has still basically remained the same since pretty much the same model since about the 1920s, was still the same staffing model. So with that, farms have become technical, requiring expertise. Farms recognize the need. There might be some of the larger, there are some differences in larger farms, smaller farms. However, even some of the smaller family farms, the family members are still broken into or have different job area or job responsibilities or focus areas. Not to say that they don't all work together, but there might be one who takes a lead on the crops and one who takes the lead on animal health, and the other that might take the lead on milk production or something like that. So there are recognizing that farms are in many cases supported by specialized service providers, which include crops consultants, dairy nutritionists, and others. The ag industry representatives have asked for specialized field staff to stay relevant with the innovative edge of agriculture. So one of the things that we're also recognizing is not only are the producers our audience, but we're also finding more so that these service providers are also seeking extension, outreach, education to increase their knowledge, which then is passed along and directly passed along to the producers. So it's a win-win in many cases. So the other piece is that we have limited budget resources. And a couple of other things of being efficient and effective. So for example, one educator can't provide expertise in all 7 program areas that were listed on the first side. There was an expectation in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s that they were knowledgeable and they were a generalist. They knew a little about a lot as opposed to knowing a lot about a little, or being more focused. The new strategy, there's a new strategy that looks at layering expertise through layering staffing expertise in order to provide outreach, education, and the research to producers. So dairy and crop production are the 2 biggest industries in the state. So that's where those layers are, and looking at, with the exception of some of the northern areas in which are primarily timber production or recreation, there's not a lot of production agriculture. So much of the state will have regional educators focused in the areas of dairy and or crop and soils production, and in smaller geographies that might include in some cases 2 to 3 counties, most cases 3 to 8. So anywhere in there's some different things, and they don't always necessarily all overlap perfectly because the county borders don't necessarily match the agricultural production areas. So forage production might cross over, and there might be a pocket of alfalfa and alternative forages. There might be some, I know, working with the northeastern, with Calumet County and working to the east, that's our largest concentration of concentrated animal feeding organizations, CAFOs. So those large dairy farms that are concentrated, and then other parts of the state have some smaller, what we might call more family-sized dairies or smaller sized dairies. So looking at layered and providing those and having different individuals that would have focus on the contents, crop and soils, dairy, and that would be Waupaca County would benefit from both. In addition, the other content, there would be statewide educators that would provide support to these individuals. They could be accessed through a couple of different ways. So farm management, labor, business development, strategic. This is some pretty intense. This is some pretty focused type stuff, and having a small group of individuals that would cover the entire state. Beef, which would include livestock and small ruminants, so think dairy and goats. um, um, those types of things. So that would be statewide. Water quality, horticulture, master gardeners, there would be opportunities for statewide coverage in both of those. And there are opportunities in some of these, of which there are higher critical need for those for them to be additional, the potential of additional staff. And as mentioned, there is a possibility that there may be some opportunities for increased horticulture outreach coverage. Here's an initial summit, and I wanted to, one of the things, and you can see I already, so stage one, so just first stage, Waupaca and Outagamie are being asked to co-fund a crop and soils educator. This would be if a vacancy or if there are vacancies occur, expand to 3 counties, which would be the max geography, so no more than 3. But recognizing that there's right now currently a lot of overlap in the forage production between Waupaca and Outagamie counties. Utilizing internal candidates when unless there are concerns, and it's no way, Jose, or we talked about the others, this is actually in process, and we will have that position filled as soon as we possibly can work through all of the paperwork to get it taken care of. If we're able to utilize an internal candidate for this role, it can happen much quicker. If we do have to post, there are some and do a vacancy, it slows things down a little bit. So stage 2, 5 to 6 counties would be asked, which would include Waupaca, would include 1 dairy educator. That would include Waupaca, Outagamie, Shawano, Oconto, Marinette, and possibly Winnebago County. Looking at some of just where the geography might lie and where things might be. Again, utilize internal candidates when possible. If we're able to do that, again, things would happen. We would be able to have things completed, hopefully in the 4th quarter of this year. So maybe even by the end of the 3rd quarter. So which would get us to August, September, somewhere in there. The counties would benefit from the statewide specialized positions, farm management, livestock, water quality. Couple of other things. In the state budget, there is in the state budget, if approved, so it was approved by the Joint Finance Committee, it would still need to go through the, once it is picked up, it would still need to be passed by the Assembly, passed by the Senate, and signed by the governor in order for it to happen. There is $1 million each of the next 2 years for additional outreach specialist positions that are shared between Extension and the College of Ag and Life Sciences. The budget specifications are written very specifically. They would include the livestock or a beef specialist, water quality individuals, or at least 1 or 2 water quality who would focus on water quality, which includes agriculture, and also some specialists at the cows in the cows. So this isn't a opportunity to say, hey, we're going to add county-related educators because the legislation is written very specifically. But I wanted to put that out there. There are additional staff that would be these statewide specialized positions that these county educators would be able to connect with and either direct connect those producers or those constituents in order to find that information that they would be looking for. There also is a known need that there is to increase a resource directory concept. So if you think a set of either a set of web pages that either individuals would be able to find some basic information, provides clear access to state and web resources, or individuals like Annette or Amy or anyone who picks up the phone here in the office would have a best an even better starting point to help direct individuals to the resources that they may want or are looking for, because we may not have that individual who is in this office or is that they're, that is right here that they might be able to meet with. That is not developed yet. There is a no need. It is in process. There are a couple of things. There's all four of the counties that I work with would benefit from that, and so it's just one of those things that it just needs to be part of the process. It's coming. So some current things that extension that Waupaca County residents do benefit from. So Discovery Farms. So Eric Cooley is the individual who heads Discovery Farms. On-farm research around water quality, presentation, local events. Because Eric is actually in the Northeast, he does get over into this area. So there are some on-site demonstrations that are within reasonable driving distance. Works Eric and the natural resources educator, Miranda Miller, work with local land conservation departments and our federal partners, the Soil Conservation Service, to both get the word out and to help conduct research and educate. Miranda, I'm hoping that Miranda will be able to join this group sometime and provide an update in the near future. Miranda is a new staff member, and she's providing some support for the Upper Wolf watershed demonstration, the farm demonstration network for the Upper Wolf. She's also providing some support for the Between the Lakes, which is just on the other side of Appleton, in that the Appleton, Calumet, in those county areas. So she's an individual that we also have some opportunity, that an example of some of those existing individuals that the residents here in Waupaca benefit from. The Conservational Professional Program, Kevin Erb, provides training around a couple of areas, a lot about manure management and conservation. This is statewide efforts, but he's also housed in Brown County. So some of those opportunities, by doing some things more locally, might be easier for some of our staff to be able to connect with. So here's where the rubber meets the road. The proposed funding, this is where the dollars come in with what was that initial staffing proposal. Right now in the budget, we've been holding vacant the position. So there is $42,333 on the state contract that are held. We did not pay for the state. We did not pay that as part of the first installment. So it's still sitting in the Waupaca County in our department line. There will be a slight increase. I believe it's a 2% increase for 2022. So it'll be about 43,500 or something like that as we go. There's cost of living and other things that we have to adjust for. So if we look at right here, this would be for the crop and soils educator that we hope to move on as quickly as possible. This would be the one educator shared between the two counties. So this would be the crops and soils shared between Waupaca and Outagamie. So each of the counties would be responsible for $21,165, which would be half. We would split that 44,000. The other portion, I think most of you, we've shared that the 42.3 is not the full salary and benefits of a staff member. That is, we're saying, hey, county, can you pick up this? The state, the Ag Institute is picking up the other portion, whatever that might be. So the counties are only asked to split that shared county portion. As we go, as we look ahead, one educator in 6 counties. So that would reference and I use 6 counties, but I also gave you the number. So there's the 5 to 6, number, because the number of counties, they're still looking at how everybody matches up. So 5 counties would be 8,500 a year. 6 counties would be about 7,000 or 7,100 a year. would tweak up just a little when we go into the 2022 with that modest increase to that. So that again is the 42,300 divided 6 ways and 5 ways to give you an idea. So it's shy of $30,000 for and it would be prorated. So it wouldn't even be that full amount, but it would be prorated for the rest of the 2020 year, looking ahead, or 2021, excuse me, looking ahead to 2022. A couple of things that, depending on the staff and the availability, office, technology, travel reimbursement, all of those are possibilities that could be open for discussion. If there are, so some of the things, if there are internal candidates that are utilized and their current existing office setup would work, then they would likely retain that. And we also have a little bit of space that we might be able to be flexible or creative, even if an individual is not housed here, this is their office location, there would be a spot where they would be able to work, participate in conversations, meetings, meet clients, or meet producers, things like that. The other thing that could be, so this is actually pretty new, where we're going as far as the proposal with the crop and soils educator was just a couple days before I left on vacation, so I was trying to scramble and get some things, and I apologize for a couple of errors in here. I wanted to get it done before I left. So that is that is the proposal. The other piece is so as opposed to giving options, or in addition to giving options, there's one other. So let me finish one thought and I'll go to the other. There also may be some opportunities to invest in other, if we wanted to keep and maintain the same departmental budget and the same commitment. There could be possibilities, and I have some, if we explore and see how things go, to look at where if we could enhance horticulture outreach education. So not only provide opportunity for diagnostics, but also some educational outreach that the individuals might be able to participate in, either virtually and or in person. So it might be classes or workshops or other things that might be relevant. Also working and engaging the master gardeners in their educational efforts as being part of outreach education and or part of the diagnostic plan. So there might be able to enhance and increase that. So the one thing there is the option, and that was included in I shared last week. I think I have a slightly refined number, but to plan on the number is that one our own county-based educator, of which you would, as a county, we would need to come up with the entire salary and benefits, and that number would be 93. So we have to make some assumptions that we're going to get a candidate that meets our target salary with our targeted and preferred level of experience, and we have to assume that they're going to take all of the benefits in which there is a employee match. And that number is $94,000. So that would have to be built in, and that would be annual. That would be annually. So at the 42.3, that would be double, and then another $5,000 or $6,000. So we would have to add to the departmental budget to do that. And that educator would be either a crops and soils educator or would be a dairy educator. They would work within a program. They would have a program expertise and a program specialization. They would not be a general ag educator, because that is, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't match up with what the industry need is at this point in time. So So that is a potential there that we can talk about. What do regional educators do? So this is going back to that crops and soils educator and those dairy educators that have shared geographies of anywhere between 3 and in our case, 5 or 6. Key issues facing farms across the service area, which would be primarily economic and environmental. And those would be in the areas of their expertise. So relating to dairy production and relating to crop and soils. In most cases, a lot of forage production and or corn for silage, those types of things. Develop working relations with service providers to help multiply the impact. So engaging in those crop professionals, dairy nutritionists where appropriate to try and ensure that the research is out and being able to be used by the producers. Schedule programming in advance to ensure all parts of the region benefit from field days and workshops, multiply from those areas that might be shared or spaces that might be close to multiple areas, those types of things. And then in addition to still the importance of the need for face-to-face, also recognize to utilize technology, not only for scheduling, for the potential. In some cases, there are some producers and or service professionals in which technology can be used for a farm visit, a remote farm visit. That's not going to work for everyone, but when it is, to take advantage of that, to also the potential in a couple of different areas. One of the things that some of the educational offerings that have been offered by the extension educators in this area that might, or even across the state, that might have been in person and had 40 or 50 people attend, by strategically promoting and utilizing technology. There have been some workshops that are able to get 5 times number, get 225, 250 individuals that are able to attend virtually from across the state, as opposed to 40 or 50 that may be able to attend because it's close enough to their home, the weather worked out, and and their schedule worked out. So those types of things. So using that blend of using what we've learned over the last 16 months and also what we've known for the previous handful of decades. So so with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So a couple of things. So here would be the couple of things of where we're at. So we currently the budget, final budget includes moving forward includes enough to be able to move forward on a shared crops and soils educator between the 2 counties and a shared dairy educator among, I'm going to say 5 because I think that's the number, but it might be 6. We don't have to take any additional action. We would just need to move forward and be able to then work to get the details worked out on how our contributions of travel and those pieces might be. There's actually already conversations in place, initial discussions to see if there are internal candidates that would be interested. Things could move on that fairly quickly. The second piece would be the additional horticulture that would need to be worked on or develop the plan that isn't ready made yet. If that was an interest of the group, the other piece would be if there was a desire by the committee and to fund an individual 1 county educator, then we would need to go through a number of steps, both on the county side for budget to ensure that there would be budget available for that increase, and although it possibly could already be there for 2021, it would need to be built in for 2022, and then the corresponding hiring process at the county or at the state level. That takes a little bit of time. It takes about 3 months to get through the process. If everything goes well and people aren't on vacation when approvals are needed. So just giving you an idea of where we're at. So I gave you a lot of information. It's an update from the last, a little bit added that there are actually some things that we can move forward on. Happy to answer questions or clarify anything that I may not have communicated as well as I could have.
Do you see an input from in your office now on like need with the dairy business for an individual that replace former people that ran it before? There must have been some kind of schedule or job description or something that, so he knew just what he had to do, you know, because he was a very busy man and he really did a good job. But do you see any input, any people questioning your office about educating for dairy production and horticulture?
As far as either input or comments, I think the area in which I received the most, either whether it be questions or things that we can work directly, are in the area of crops and soils. That is the highest, to me, that's the highest level of need. Now, crops and soils does impact the dairy, but there's when the programs, separating the programs, dairy and livestock are focused on the animals and maybe their housing and those types of things. Crop and soils is really about the forage crops. There's some debate where the nutrient management, whether that is whether it goes into the front end or comes out the back end. We still need to do management. Nutrient management oftentimes works with crops and soils because with that area. So in this area, because of the high level of production, that's the area that there is the greater need. It's also why that is a smaller geography. So that's the one thing why it's a smaller geography. And it's also the reason why we're trying to act that or move on that, or we also have the potential to move on that much quicker. Now that's not discounting the dairy. But there has not been as much either comment or input regarding dairy as there has been for crops. Horticulture, we continue to get inquiries. Amy filters most of them and tries to know resources whenever possible. We do have a vacancy in Winnebago County with our hort educator right now, so that would have been someone who we would have gotten some more immediate feedback, but that one is also very seasonal. So that's with the growing season is usually between May and September is when we get more questions. We get fewer in other months. So that is an area that we have. That is also something that statewide, most of our extension offices traditionally get more horticulture inquiries. Those diagnostics, what is this bug? What's my plant doing? Those types of things, which is why there is, as we speak, an initiative to create a more statewide response to diagnostics. So that would include it or a chat feature or something that you could at least get some initial level of what is this insect or whatever it might be. And then if there is more that needs to be known, then it can get moved along. So, I mean, that's just, I could touch base with Amy to make sure I'm not missing anything. Amy fields most of the general inquiries. We also get some, I mean, just some that every extension office does, and probably that, you know, Jessica or others that get these not general, but these off the wall, and I don't mean that in a bad way, just something that is like, you know, I work on this and this and this, and we get something that's way over here that's just a little bit different. Like, I inherited 20 acres from my, you know, my father passed, I inherited 20 acres. What can I do with this barn? That's a pretty specialized, that I'm not even sure right now that Extension has a resource or a specialist that they would be able to, even though they did at one time have somebody that was in the ag engineering and architecture area. That was like, I think 15 years ago, that position was sunset. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Well, you did in a lot of ways. I know when Greg, and just knowing he was a very busy man, he was out front with a lot of people seen him and stuff. You think that with having the Allegheny County, and would that be sufficient? I guess we don't have anything right now.
Correct.
Would be additional. What do you think that would fit the bill? You know, would that work?
So I can at least speak for myself. And one of the things that is, at least in my experience, and I'm getting close. I'm not quite at the 20-year mark, but I've got 20 years of extension experience. And one of the things that with where we're at in extension is we are trying to narrow our areas of expertise, or narrow our focuses, and not and some of these wider, broader things that we would do. We're trying to reduce the amount of service opportunities and trying to focus on our educational outputs that are research based. So what I do think, and what is happening, and this is where the difference is that there is a desire or a need or a want from the workforce to have a little bit of a narrower focus and possibly look at that broader geography, but have a narrower area of expertise, which would be in this case forage production and or crop production in that case. And what we're actually seeing is that if we don't do that, we're probably not going to be able to keep our workforce for very long. We'll get them out of college, they'll work for a couple of years, and then they'll go work for somebody else. What I'm trying to do is give them a niche in which they can grow and establish relationships. And that's what, and again, that's also an individual thing, so we can't predict what every individual is. But so where we're going is that we do need to focus. 2 or 3 counties is for the crops and soils is one of the smallest areas that we're going to see. So it is actually, I think, with the overlap, especially in that, and I'm kind of looking at a map in my head. There's a lot of crossover there. One of the things that we will have to work with is that individuals are going to have to either call or email and schedule appointments a little bit more. In any office that we've got, the expectation that there's just going to be somebody waiting at a desk to answer their calls is not going to happen as frequently. Not saying that they're not going to be responsive to the inquiries and the needs. We just have to be more deliberate about encouraging some scheduling to be able for those connections. That is something that the last year plus has helped with offices being closed a little bit. So hopefully we're able to keep that up. And I know that I was many times I was the recipient of I'm gonna call them nasty grams. You know, I would go to camp for a week and I would come back and there'd be a nasty voicemail that somebody stopped in and they wanted to talk with me about something and I wasn't in the office when they wanted to, and now they have to come in another time. And I'm like, sorry, 4-H camp is kind of an important activity that I was needed to do. I was working, you know, it's not like I was, you know, just, you know, drinking coffee, you know, someplace. So there's just those that are always, you know, individuals that may expect that service. We just have to work with providing that. The other piece, and I think that is that I'm hoping, and I know it's important, and I'm pushing on this hard, is that that resource library, it needs to be developed so that individuals, like when they come in, so individuals that might come in and say, and Amy greets them at the counter, or even if I'm at the counter, can say, you know, I don't have, you know, in my mind, I'm going to say, I don't have a clue about this one. However, there might be a resource library that I can at least start pointing someone down the right direction, so that they can get that information. The other piece that I do think that we have to recognize is that there are some things that, regardless of any of our roles, that extension just doesn't do. But yet people come in and expect us to know things, and I don't know exactly what it is. And we just have to be more like, that's not an area of our, you know, that's not an area in which we can provide service. Possibly the DNR might be, you know, depending on what the area might be, or there might be, you know, but we need to find out, are there some other places that we can at least try to refer to, and recognize that we can't be experts. We can't be experts at everything. So.
You finished with your section, Chris?
Unless there's more other questions or comments.
You said specialization is, don't matter what area you're in. Even our loan officers, when I was retiring, and now they're specialized. You have ones with a large dairy, you have one for just your regular dairy, and you have specialists all over. It's doctors look at that. I mean,
Right.
You don't have a general practitioner that you can go for a unless that's the way things are evolving, and it's best to follow that path.
That's nice to have a buffet. You gotta pay for it.
So with, I guess I just want to make sure, is there, so with the, do you want me to move ahead to work with the Ag Institute to get the crop and soils and the dairy regional educators in place as soon as we can? Would you, and then also then work to explore the possibility of horticulture outreach? Like me to that, we can move on that. We have the budget. It's not to be, it's not, we're not placing, and I'm intentional. We're not, even if Waupaca County was going to hire their own, we wouldn't be replacing like for like. There would be some significant changes that would occur. I guess I just want to know, is there consensus that from this group to move forward with the proposed regional staffing model with the crop and soil, shared crop and soils educator, shared dairy educator, and I will continue to explore and see what we can do about a horticulture educator with the others that we would have moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to make any assumptions and get down the road. So
Yes, no, you did a very good job of it, and you couldn't get any more detailed. It'd be nice to have. I guess maybe we got spoiled, but kind of like you had. Tony, well, he knows that. Just go ask Dick Rowan.
Right.
It's kind of like Greg Bondi. You know, how many years was he at the county? He had a little bit of everything.
Yep.
And he was good enough to answer. He gave everybody to get by for that. And now everybody wants to specialize.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It is what it is.
Okay.
All right. So I'll keep you updated, and that's all that I have in life if there are no other questions.
Okay, I'm having a little bit of a hard time with the sound. The bottom line is, sounds to me like you're finished. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I thank you very much. That was a lot to try and understand, and sometimes the sound is a little strange, but I'm getting through it. I think we're down to our next meeting, which apparently is scheduled for August the 23rd at 8:30 in the morning. Is that okay with everyone?
So one thing, Bob, and the rest of the group I would point out is that that is the fourth Monday. This county, this group has traditionally, the August meeting moved up one Monday to the third Monday so that it did not conflict with the fair. I guess the question would be is, would you like to continue with the tradition? And Penny would give any updates or anything last minute fair related to move up to the third Monday. But I wanted to double check with schedules to make sure that that would be okay.
I love going to the fair, and I would be happy to reschedule it if you gentlemen think that that's what we should be doing.
Dennis, do you think that'll work? Okay, I think we're good. We'll just have to let Bernie know. So let's go with Monday, August. Okay, let's try this again. Monday, August 16th for our next meeting.
Okay. It's a long way away. Right now, these just seem like numbers, but I can figure that one out. August 16th at 8:30 a.m. Anything further for the good of the cause? I think we are adjourned. Thank you very much.